Well, welcome. Thanks for joining us today for today's Moving Forward Together event. This is an ongoing collaboration between Timberland Regional Library and the Capital STEM Alliance at ESD 113. And this year, we are excited to highlight current and emerging trends, uh, um, employee trends, employment trends throughout the capital region. So for the next couple of months, our episodes will focus on some unique, high-end, high demand, emerging occupations, and they're also high wage in our five county region, and that most people don't even know exist, but we can't do without. So today we're going to focus on welding as a gateway to a great career. My name is Lori Thompson. I'm from Capital STEM Alliance, and I'd like to introduce my collaborator, partner from Timberland Regional Library, Cheryl Haywood. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our support staff, Lily Grant at Timberland Regional Library. Thank you, Lily, who will be recording tonight's event and sending it out the YouTube link after it's over. So, Cheryl, I'm excited to introduce you. Go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Lori. And so this Moving Forward Together series started about 3 years ago now with Lori and myself co-facilitating on issues and topics that affect so many of us across this five-county region. And we, as Lori just said, Lily is recording it, and we have it on Timberland Regional Library's YouTube channel. So the past ones are there. And we're very excited to be able to co-host today's episode. So back to you, Lori.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl. So, as I mentioned before, we're going to be looking into workforce gaps in welding occupations, and this cuts across multiple job sectors in our region and probably across the state. So, we're going to look at three specific ones in welding jobs in maritime, in construction, and agriculture, and actually four, sorry, and wood products and manufacturing. So, to kick us off, uh, it's my pleasure, my great pleasure, to introduce our keynote speaker, Ann Avery, who is going to provide us with an overview of the welding skills industries and the need to expand career pathways for youth in our region in these occupations. So after we're done talking to Ann, or after we're done listening to Ann, we're going to follow that up with a panel discussion with some amazing experts, employer, sector leads, etc. And and then if we have some time for audience questions, we'll take those too. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Ann. Ann is a director at the Center of Excellence for Marine Manufacturing and Technology at Skagit Valley College. And Ann also serves as the Career Connect Washington Maritime Sector Lead. And she's also the lead on something called the MAC project, which I'm going to let her introduce to you. So I'm going to turn it over to Ann.
Thank you, Lori. I really appreciate the opportunity to present to you all tonight. It's nighttime where I am. I think it's still afternoon where you are. And I'm going to, with your permission, I'll share my screen. Oop. Let's see. Am I able to
Lily, are you able to do that? Because it says on my screen that to share. And is it PowerPoint?
It's a PowerPoint.
Could you email it to me right now?
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, it should
Should it share right now for Ann?
it should, as far as I can see, but we can do it that
Let
way
me give
too.
it one more try. For
Or hit
whatever reason, it's
refresh,
just
hit
not letting
refresh.
me do that. Huh, that's odd. Yeah, it just won't let me
Try it
let
again.
me share. I'm so sorry. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Um,
Can you try it one more time?
I think Lori
I have
has
it, but
the
I don't have the
PowerPoint.
change slides, but I'm happy to bring them up.
And you could email it to Lori and she can
No,
share it.
I have it. I have it.
Okay.
I can share it if you like, and I'm going to share it for you.
Okay. I'm just going to do a quick audio check. Can you all hear me? Okay, because I don't think I can hear you. So here I am with my debut with Lori, and already I'm causing trouble. Um, Lori, if you wouldn't mind going to slide show view. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, again, thank you all so much. Lori, thank you for advancing slides for me in advance. That's always a thankless job. But I really do appreciate the opportunity to talk with you all about rural job opportunities and welding. And I'm going to speak to that through the lens of the MAC Welding Project. Next slide, please. The first order of business is really to define what MAC is. And MAC really is, at its roots, at its core, it's a statewide open source cross-sector welding and fabrication model framework. And the framework is aligned with OSPI and Department of Labor career clusters. It is fully accessible, scalable, and adaptable. Everything we're doing under the project is open educational resource. And Lori mentioned maritime, ag and natural resource, and wood products and construction. That's really where Max started. It was those three sector leads. But clearly, we know that welding crosses multiple industry sectors. So if you're doing welding in agriculture, you can do it in aerospace, energy, automotive, and any industry sector where welding is present. I think the big thing that's most interesting about how MAC came to be, it was really kind of an organic process. And we were looking to do something more under our Career Connect Washington umbrella to be more impactful in rural communities. And we recognize that in rural communities, there's often a challenge around community access and awareness, often a challenge around readily accessible open source instruction materials, and few opportunities for faculty, especially K-12 faculty, to access critical industry-aligned professional development. And maybe most importantly, there was an absence of a sustainable strategy to pilot a scalable initiative. And that's really how it came about. Next slide. Okay. And so part of that was building a project team. And this was absolutely critical. You can see on the map, we have 3 stars. These are the 3 rural serving regions in the state that we decided to focus on. So from there, we built out a team that includes the AGC Educational Foundation, the Ag and Natural Resource Center of Excellence, us, the Center of Excellence, we're both the project and fiscal lead, the Capital STEM Alliance, which was the original member of this group, Northwest ESD 189, the Mid-Columbia region to the east, and I think most importantly, Sierra Pacific Industries. And Sierra Pacific came on just about at the very beginning, thanks to Lori. And Lori called me up one day and said, hey, you know what? I think it would be great if Jacqueline from Sierra Pacific could come because she could maybe give us some guidance. This was when the project was getting out of the gate. It was really in its infancy. And we were so lucky to have Jacqueline there. And Jacqueline said, you know what, I think I'd like to stay on this. I'd like to be part of this. And we, of course, said, yes, that's an easy yes. And having Sierra Pacific on as our industry team member really has made a huge difference in the way the project has rolled out and what we've been able to do. So if you're looking to start a project like this, I really encourage you to identify an industry member that can be part of the project. It really does make a big difference. Next slide, please. Now, a little bit about the timeline. I said a moment ago that the project kind of formed rather organically, and it really did. In the spring of 2024, Kim Davis and I, Kim is our project manager, met with Lori and her team, Kat and Cecily at that time, just to sit down and brainstorm. What could we develop together to serve rural Washington? Well, and I think we sat together for a couple of hours and we came up with what we called an agnostic welding program, meaning it was cross-sector. It wasn't affiliated with just one sector. And we noodled that around a little bit. And then we thought, you know, who we're missing from the conversation is Sarah Patterson from the AGC Education Foundation. So a couple of weeks later, Lindsay Williams, who was then the Ag and Natural Resource Center director, she's now a dean at Walla Walla Community College. We sat down with Sarah Patterson. I think we spent maybe 4 hours together, taking all of the notes from the meeting with Lori and her team, and we mapped this thing out. That's when we started putting together the team that includes ESD 189 and Mid-Columbia and others. So from there, we put together a funding proposal, and we thought, well, we're going to have to shop this around. As it happens, that the Employment Security Department had funding for a project that was ready to hit the ground running. And that's what we did. From there, we were able to develop the statewide frameworks for submission to OSPI. And that was led by AGC Ed Foundation and Sarah in particular. We developed a professional development matrix, and we created a multi-sector career pathway map. From there, that leads us into 2025. From there, while we're waiting for the frameworks to be approved, we developed teachwelding.org, which is a robust welding resource site for industry, policymakers, students, their faculty, education, for anybody who wants to know more about career as a welding, or welding as a career, excuse me. And we also created a cross-sector navigator guide, kind of a how-to, because we felt at that point we might be putting together a model that could be adapted and used by other sectors. Then our frameworks were approved. That was a great day because that was the foundational piece of phase one of the project. While they were being approved, we applied for and received funding for phase two of the project. And I'll get into that fourth column in our next couple of slides. If you could go to the next slide, please. Okay, why welding? I think we all know that in professional technical education and in the work world, there are a lot of high demand technical skill sets. Welding is one of them. We came to this via we kind of came to this again organically. I hate to overuse that word, but parts of this just sort of came together so well. It's you know, sometimes you have to sort of stop and really appreciate what we have to stop and appreciate what we've put together. We recognized that welding was a high demand career path. It is high demand in rural communities, and all three of those industries all operate in rural communities. So we recognized the pathway. We also knew that we had data to back that up, and everything that we do in the project is data informed. So to give you a sense of the demand for welding, nationally, the American Welding Society is projecting a need for a little over 320,000 new welders by 2029. That's in 3 years. That's over 100,000 welders per year. Now, granted, that's nationally and it's across industry sectors, but that is a staggering number. In Washington alone, the demand is outpacing the national demand by a factor of 3. So we're projected per year through 2032 to produce or to have a demand of 910 welders per year. That's a heck of a lot of people through 2032 for each year. If we look at the math a little more, if we take 23 welding programs, and that's a combination of community and technical college programs and a couple of private programs at an average of 20 students per program, that means we're producing 460 welders per year. In the other bullet point, we know we need 910 welders per year. You can see that delta, 460 is less than 910. Now, I will point out we didn't, and we're collecting the numbers for K-12 welding programs, what they're producing, and we're collecting numbers for registered apprenticeship programs. So sheet metal, plumbers and pipe fitters, boiler makers, etc. So once we get those numbers, we're going to marry those with the 460 and see where we are. However, I would venture to say there's still going to be a delta there. We're not going to meet that 910, and probably that 910 is a little bit conservative, and I expect that demand to be a bit higher. Welding, as a high demand skill, does tend to pay well in Washington State. The average annual salary is just under $62,000 per year. This is a statewide average. It's not unusual to see a welder into the low six figures, to be at 100 plus per hour, particularly when you look at specializations. And that will take us to our next slide. So we know welding is high demand. It's in multiple industry sectors. So that means that welding careers equate to options and opportunities. And when I'm talking to young adults or students and they're talking about what they want to do, and granted, it's usually in the maritime context, in my case, I always tell them you want to set yourself up for as many options as you can possibly have in your work life, because you'll probably switch industries 7 or 8 times, but you want a core set of skills that can travel with you and take you through your career. Welding absolutely represents that. I won't read the list, but when you're looking at it, you can be in welding education, ship fitting, underwater welding, project management, millwright, pipe fitting, non-destructive testing. The list goes on and on. And as technology evolves, many of the processes around welding evolve as well. So it's a deep and wide career pathway with a high demand. And when I talk with employers, there's present demand for welders today, there's near-term demand for welders, and there's long-term demand for welders. I met with a shipbuilder the other day, and I asked him where they thought they were going to be in 10 years. He said, well, we're going to be at least 3 times as big, and we're going to need that number more in welders. We need more welders, in addition to other technical skills. But they're shipbuilders, so welding is their bread and butter. And this goes for structural steel as well as aluminum and other exotic materials. So a lot of opportunity in this field. Next slide, please. So I want to kind of recap our milestones, because this is really important. In phase 1, we created the frameworks, and those are the foundation of the entire project. These are statewide frameworks. They're not localized frameworks. They're statewide. We created teachwelding.org to be a resource. We created a pathway map and a cross-sector best practices guide. And on our public investment for phase 1 was $250,000. Next slide. And you'll see as we roll into phase 2 is a much denser phase of the project. The frameworks were our kind of our building cornerstone. From that, we're building everything up. So you can see we have many more activities in phase 2, and we were very fortunate through employment security to receive our full funding for this phase. So the public investment for phase 2 is $367,941. That's very exact math, but that's how we wrote the grant, and that's what we got. But we're very, very grateful for our partnership with Employment Security, and they saw the value in this project as well. So you can see from the very simplified Gantt chart, we have a lot of moving pieces. We have a lot of activities and deliverables, and it's absolutely imperative that we track them. We do ongoing project evaluation because we're working with a number of subcontractors in this phase of the project, And we have a responsibility to the project, our partners, and the public to make sure that we're delivering everything on time and as stated. So this just gives you a sense of the overall view of the project. And then the next slide, I'm going to get into a little bit more detail about some elements of the project. If you could forward that slide, Lori. Thank you so much. Phase 2 highlights and milestones. The first one is statewide scaling. If you recall the map at the beginning of the PowerPoint, we started in 3 rural regions of the state. Now we're scaling out. So now we're scaling out to rural other rural regions of the state, but also suburban and urban regions of the state. Again, this is a statewide framework. We want this all across the state, but we, with intention, started in rural communities first. That was really, really important. We formed an industry-led advisory committee critical to the project. This committee is going to guide the project, inform the project, let us know when we're off base, let us know when we're on track. We had the first meeting of the advisory committee just last week on the 19th of February, and we're really excited about that. We're developing faculty professional development, and in a lot of ways, this is one of the key metrics of this entire project. We knew early on that K-12 faculty really needed access to high quality, industry standards-based professional development. And that extends to post-secondary faculty as well. So we're investing a lot of our resource into that professional development. We're also creating a K-12 welding shop best practices guide. This dovetails with the dual credit pilot project under Mac Welding Phase 2 as well. It's intended to support articulations between K-12 and post-secondary programs. This is really important. And again, we're trying to create a foundation, a common platform for welding programs across the state to work from. And this, like most everything in the project, will be open source. It'll be reviewed by industry and education statewide. We don't want to do anything in this project in a vacuum. And then finally, curriculum development. We've engaged with a professional curriculum designer to create industry standards-based curriculum based on the frameworks and the competencies, welding competencies. And to date, we have 11 units created. They feature resources, gamification, career and activity cards. The curriculum is competency-based, and it, like everything else, will be reviewed by education and industry partners statewide. We're really excited about the curriculum piece. And this, we expect the portals, the review portals, to open up this March or April. So everything, I think it's worth saying again, everything under the project is open resource. Everything is fully accessible. And we feel that we're creating a model for other sectors in the state for replication and adaptability, but also a model that could perhaps be adapted in other regions of the country as well. And with that, I think that is the final slide. And then I just want to invite everybody to go to teachwelding.org. It's a new site. We're still building it out. But again, our goal is for this to be a very robust resource for anyone who's interested in welding. And with that, Lori, I'll turn it back over to you. And I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to present. It's always a pleasure to work with you, and it's always fun to share this project. I think we all have a passion for it, and it's hard work, but it's very fun work.
This is great. Thank you, Anne. For a person like myself who's not in this industry, it was really this 100,000-foot overview was very educational. So, and you've come a long way in a very short amount of time. It's really impressive work across the whole state. Does anyone have questions for Anne before we move on to the panelists?
You know what? I can't, this is not my night for technology. I can't hear anything. And I'm so sorry, I don't know what's going on. Let me,
That's okay. In the chat, someone asked how long is the welding
I'm
program?
really sorry, I just can't hear anything.
Oh, you can't hear me either.
Yeah, I can't hear a word.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave and then come back because I want to see the rest of the everything. And then if I'm happy to answer any questions offline or during this thing, but I'll leave and come back and hopefully I'll be able to hear.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So thanks to our coming up panelists for being with us this afternoon and lending us your expertise. You will each have about 5 minutes to respond to our questions. And if we have extra time, we will give you some follow-up questions. So let's start with Kathy, and please share your full name, organization, and role.
I'm the Dean of Workforce Education at Grays Harbor College.
And Andrea, is Andrea here?
I don't see Andrea.
No, I don't see, because I'm only seeing a few people at the top.
Yeah, I don't see Andrea yet.
Sarah Patterson.
Hi, my name is Sarah Patterson, and I serve as the Workforce Development Director with the AGC, Associated General Contractors Education Foundation. Thank you for having me.
And Jacqueline.
Hi, Jacqueline Early, Community Relations Manager for Sierra Pacific Industries. We are a family-owned wooden forest products company and have 4 sites in Washington State.
Thank you, Jacqueline. And I'm going to hand it over now to Lori.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you to our panelists for being here today, especially, I know it's been a long day. Some of you are in different time zones, so I totally appreciate your participation and your willingness to be here today. I'm going to start with Sarah. And Sarah and I had a lovely conversation. The passion that Sarah has about welding, especially in the construction industry. Sarah, you mentioned to me that there's a type of welding that fits every personality.
Yes.
Could you give us a couple of examples?
You bet. Yeah, thank you for that question. I love that one. So, as a former welding instructor, that was one of the things I would always tell my students. We have a welding position and a type of welding for every personality. You like to go fast. You like to get things done. You like to see things rise from the ground. You're a structural welder. You like that meticulous work. The tiny little details just makes you so excited. The smaller the work, the finer the work. Guess what? Gas tungsten arc welding or TIG welding is your calling. Did you love a hot glue gun as a child, or do you currently love a hot glue gun? We've got gas metal arc welding, also known as MIG. It's just a hot glue gun with metal. So truly, whether you want to go small and slow or big and fast, we've got a welding pathway for you.
I love your enthusiasm. You make me want to be a welder. So where does the quality come in? Does that come in before you weld, while you're learning to weld? I mean, I've tried welding on a simulator, and as you know, it's not easy. Just wondering how people can get into this as a career.
Oh, sure. So, I mean, there's multiple pathways in. Obviously, with the MAC project, we're looking to start that curiosity in the high school, but not just the curiosity, full-blown training, because really welding is a learned skill. So while there's many aspects to it, the root of it is muscle memory, right? And so if we can get you in that booth and get you training and get that muscle memory embedded in your body, you are on your way to becoming a welder. Now, as you are learning that muscle memory or embedding that into your body, we also want to work on the metallurgy side. We want to work on the print reading side. We want to work on the fabrication side. And that speaks to your, the cleanliness or the setup. Because really, when you're welding, about 10% of the job is welding. 90% of it is all the fit up, the cleaning, getting everything ready, getting it put together so it matches print reading. So there's a lot of meticulous steps before you even get to the arc strike. But then once you get to the arc strike, what I always would say, you drop the hood and the whole world melts away and it's just you and the weld and everything else is good, especially because nobody can come bother you because it'll blind them. So, if you're into solitary pursuits, it's a great career path. But also, again, if you like to really, find detail, make sure that everything is exactly as it should be, it's a good career path for you as well. So lots of different benefits to it. And really, it's an entry point industry. Start in high school, start at the college level, go in through the military. Odds offers lots of really high quality welding training. There's many on ramps into this industry.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that this is actually a STEM career.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's a trade, but it's a STEM career. And it sounds like what you're saying is there's all this math and measurement and chemistry almost that,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Welding is applied chemistry. That is what it is. And so if I could install one thing, it's you are not just a welder, you are an applied chemist. But don't let that scare you off, and don't let the math part scare you off. As someone who did not do well in math, is wildly dyslexic, never understood chemistry, got asked to leave that class a couple different times. As soon as I got into my weld shop, metallurgy makes perfect sense to me because it's I can see it. I don't need to talk about covalent bonds, but I can see the metallurgical, reactions happening in front of me as that aluminum flops like a fish because of the way it reacts to heat. Same thing with math. I can't sit down and do nonsensical math, but if you ask me to do fabrication math, I'm with you all day long. I think a lot of people who find their way into this trade recognize later, oh my gosh, I'm a lot smarter than anyone ever gave me credit for. I just needed an application for my intelligence.
That's awesome. I makes me want to go out and be a welder right now.
Good, get in here.
So if I am coming from another sector, let's say that I'm a woman and I'm kind of worked in a pastry shop or a baking shop. Am I able to learn how to weld?
Yes, and if you're coming out of baking and pastry arts, you're already 2 steps ahead of everybody else because the exact same things and skill sets that make you excellent at decorating a cake directly apply to welding. That slow, controlled movement, the attention to detail, but making sure you're not too fast, not too slow, just the right amount of pressure. The other tell that you would be a good welder is, do you have good handwriting? Can you write well in cursive? If yes, you're 3 steps ahead of everybody else already. If you've been working on that cursive, we can get you in a weld booth and you will excel based on that fine motor skill training that we learn in cursive or in baking and pastry arts or in caulking or so many of these other skill sets that you would think, well, what's that have to do with welding? If you can decorate a cake, I can get you welding certified in 12 weeks. I promise.
Wow. So so what are some of the typical construction type welding jobs that you would see in your sector?
Great question. So obviously, anytime you see a high-rise metal building, those are your iron workers or structural welders. But not all welding in construction takes place at height. Somebody had to do all the fabrication work to build those I-beams, put on the knife plates, put all those pieces together on a shop floor. So we've got welding careers for folks who don't want to climb buildings, don't want to be out in industry, want to work in the shop floor. That then all goes out, gets put together like Lincoln logs and welded together. In addition to that, there's all the fine fascia work. So all of the beautiful design work on the front of buildings, that's all welded. Anytime you see a multi-story building that's nothing but window walls, all of those are welded in with welded clips. So the welding goes on and on. Our plumbers weld to a certain extent. There's some welding that takes place within the electrical work. So throughout the life cycle of the building of a building, welding is there from the very start, the foundational work, all the way through the finish work as we're doing the fine detail work on the fascia of the building.
Wow. It sounds like there's a ton of different welding skills that a young person could learn.
Oh,
And
absolutely. And that's just the applied welding, because then we also get into the full inspection side of the house. So for every welder on site, we need an inspector that's going to go through and make sure that those meet structural code. That they if it's a boat, there's inspection for all of those pieces. But just in the construction industry alone, there's a plethora of welding careers, all fully outdoors at height, fully indoors on the floor, warm and dry, not striking an arc at all, but on the inspection side of the house. We also have the full backside of welding engineers, welding architects. So, whatever your calling is, if you want to be outside in the rain and the snow and just loving it out there, we have a career for you. If you're looking to do more of the shop side of building those structural elements to then go out to the field, we have a career for you. you like being around welding, but the actual application is not your thing. We need you as a welding engineer, or we need you as an inspector.
Oh my gosh, overwhelmed. Anne had mentioned that welders can make an average of about 62,000 a year. What about in is that across sectors, do you think, or is it more in construction,
It,
less?
it can certainly be more depending on the amount of overtime you're getting, as well as prevailing wage, depending on where you are in the state. Obviously, overtime always has a huge benefit to it. And because there's a dearth of welders, we don't have enough welders around, you're going to get a whole lot of overtime. So anytime you see that, oh, here's a welder making 100,000 a year, I have no doubt that that's a true statement, but know that that welder is probably working 60 hours a week.
Hmm.
So yes, you can absolutely make six figures, but you're going to earn every penny of it, and it's going to mean that you're on job six tens,
Right.
which the only benefit of six tens is it's hard to spend money when you're working 60 hours a week. So you can certainly put your money up and bank for a while.
Wow, you're like a walking encyclopedia. This is amazing. I could ask you questions all day. But thank you for
You bet.
sharing your
Yeah,
information and your insight. And if we have time after everybody has had a chance, we'll come back and take questions from the audience.
sounds
Thank you
good.
so much,
Thank you.
Sarah. I'd like to go to Jacqueline. Jacqueline, you are in the forestry, advanced manufacturing, wood products industry. Hearing what Sarah has just said, can you name some of the welding jobs that might come up in your industry?
Absolutely. So we have a variety of jobs, and I think it's really important for people to know that most of our positions or most of our movement is technology based. So it's machines doing the work. Um, so it's our maintenance crews that do welding in our jobs, and it can be mill writing, it can be saw filing, so all the people that repair and keep our saws in good order so that we can cut our wood. We build, engineer, design, and build our own sawmill equipment. So we have teams that are fabricating the equipment and putting it together. So obviously they're welding there. All throughout, wherever they're trying to maintain equipment, fix equipment, welding is a part of those jobs.
So, if someone came, say, from the maritime industry or from the construction industry and had some basic welding skills in either of or both of those industries, would they be attractive as a hire, as a recruit, to weld at your facility?
Absolutely. And we see employees crossing sectors all the time. That's what's so
Hmm.
exciting about Mac is allowing people to explore that, jobs don't stop at an industry or a county line. They go across sectors. So yes, I've hired many employees that have come out of aerospace, that have come out of marine, have come out of different entities. And again, we've had employees that have worked for us in our industry that have also gone on to other positions in those careers.
Wow. So is there a way to upskill at your facility, like to train if somebody is already a welder and they want to do additional um, training? Would that be
Yes.
possible?
Yes.
Cool.
So most of our position welding isn't the primary responsibility they do. It's a portion of it.
Mhm.
So welding is that skill that we really look for in applicants because we know that they can be trainable, they can learn things, they can read a blueprint, they know measurements. We can upskill them into other positions. So that industrial electrical position, that maintenance millwright position, we invest heavily in our employees. And when they have that basic of welding, it's one step ahead of everybody else that's applying. So it's a great skill for students and
Mm.
job seekers to have.
Thank you. And I've also know that you have worked with youth under 18 in the past as apprentices. And what would you say if you were a student and maybe 16 or 17 and might have been interested in getting into Sierra Pacific or another advanced manufacturing facility, what should a student do if they're interested in this and they're in a rural area? How can they get into um, a apprenticeship job at your company?
At our company. Well, we're pretty unique that position that we have with our high school program. But the biggest thing is Connect with your CTE instructors, talk to your shop classes. They know the businesses in the community. They know who might be willing to take in a student and have them, learn to job shadow or explore the shop floor. There's a lot of regulations, so you might not get in right as a student, but knowing that industry, asking those relationships, starting out as a student, you're a shoo-in when you're ready and 18, because as an employer, I'm looking for that student that really wants to learn and come and grow.
Awesome. Thank you. And now we've looked at three different industry sectors that really, really want to recruit welders. And I'm going to go to Kathy. Kathy, you are the Dean of Workforce at the Workforce Dean at Grays Harbor College, another rural community. And I know that you are also interested in agricultural type welding. Can you explain a little bit about how welding would be a benefit in the agriculture industry?
Okay, I have unstable internet, so just I want to give
Okay,
you a heads up on that.
no worries.
So, you kind of I was prepared to talk about maritime, but in the agricultural side of things, the points that Sarah made are well taken. Our welding program at Grays Harbor College has been a stalwart program in the state for 25 plus years. You may know our instructor, Rod McDonald, and he has spent his career training welders for cross-industry applications. So it would be maritime, it would be agriculture, it would be heavy equipment, it would be construction, all of those different types of welding, all those different certifications that he provides in his welding program will be applicable to all industries, including agriculture. And those, I want to recruit Sarah to come and talk to our career exploration conversation for welding, because when people think of welding, they think big buildings and sheet welding and all of that. But there's so many parts and pieces to the welding field that includes just that tack welding, and I know nothing. So I'm going to go into an area where I don't know a lot, but I do know that there are places where you want to piece things together, especially in a field set out in the field of in the industry, where you got to figure out in rural areas how to put it together and piece it together until you can get it back to the shop and get it fixed properly, right? So it can be a very rewarding experience for a person that's working on a piece of equipment. They're doing harvesting or whatever they're doing, or in the maritime industry, they're out in the middle of the ocean and something breaks, and they have that skill to be able to weld something together, to piece it together and jerry rig, if you will, till they can get it back to the shop and get it fixed properly. So that is was really that was really interesting to hear that, Sarah. So thanks for sharing that. Like I said, I'm going to recruit you to come out and talk to our high school students out in Aberdeen and the region.
And so what I'm hearing is that AI is no threat as far as welding goes, because it's a hands-on trade and it's a skill that AI cannot really replicate.
I would
Would that be a fair statement?
I would defer to Sarah on that one, because she's the expert in.
No, I'm nowhere near an expert. But no, this is one, and I'll stand, as the kids say, 10 toes down on this one. AI will not replace welders. We've had robotic welders. They've been with us for over 30 years now. Still, we're screaming that we need human welders at a level unseen. So AI is not a threat to this career field. Are there aspects of the industry that AI will enhance? Yes, absolutely. Are there aspects of the industry or some jobs that may be changed by AI? Yes, but the actual drop your hood, make the weld, no. AI is not coming for that, and I don't think it will happen in my lifetime. We
And I,
can't offshore this either. These are not jobs that can be sent overseas. You have to build the building in place. You have to bring the ship into dry dock in place. You have to fabricate the pieces in place. So it cannot be offshored at any great scale. AI is not going to take it. The robots are not coming for this career field. We still need human beings to show up every day and make those welds happen.
and I think that's true for all the trades, plumbers, carpenters, diesel mechanics. There are parts of it that are, will be enhanced by AI, but you still need a human to turn the wrench and to lay the bead and do all the things to make it come together.
And that is a relief. That's good to hear. And thank you for sharing that. I know I kind of put you on the spot there for a moment, but I did want to include ag mechanics in this because um, welding is a very important part of ag mechanics, and I know that Grace Harbor College is looking at that as a pathway. Um,
Sure. And also in diesel, we have we
right.
have the two paths, and that those two skill sets are very compatible. You drive it, you fix it.
Mhm.
And so we're looking at cross industry with both of those skill sets.
It's such a wonderful experience for a young person to be able to work with their hands and have the satisfaction of knowing that they did that. They built that. They made that weld. And so thank you for sharing that. Now I'm going to ask you to go ahead and to give us your expert opinion on how you're folding the MAC project into maritime at the Westport Futures.
Thank you. I have notes for that.
That's the question you wanted me to ask.
I've been waiting for that question. Yeah, but we did get a grant from Grace Harbor College, got a grant from the Employment Security Department and Lori was very instrumental in putting that together with our partners in Westport, and Andrea being a major partner in this project. And it's called the Westport Maritime Futures Project, and it is to the goal is to build a workforce focused on maritime jobs that are in Westport, but we're also looking to pilot a maritime pathway in Westport that can expand out to Aberdeen and South Bend and Pacific County, in more out into the other regions of Grace Harbor and Pacific County. And we're really looking at those transferable skills of welding and diesel as our main focus. And and the parts and pieces of this include career exploration on the upfront, then the curriculum, and using and partnering with the high schools that have the high school welding program. Out in Acosta, they use simulators and they have a welding lab out there. So how can we partner with them to get students engaged in the industry, in welding, and then also in the diesel mechanic side? And then we also have a work-based learning piece of this project as well, where students will get to opportunity to be in a work setting. And because the beautiful thing about rural work is you can sit down with a bunch of employers in a small community like Westport and say, what do you need? And we got from them what they need, and they need individuals that can work while the vessels are underway. They need them to be able to work in the deck, work in the engine, be able to work in the refrigeration units, be able to tack weld and piece things together if something breaks out in the middle of the ocean. And then when the ship vessels come in, if they're in dry dock, they need to be able to fix and repair the vessels in dry dock. And there's a couple of employers in the community. One of them is a very entrepreneurial organization, and one of the owners is a welding graduate of Grace Harbor College. So they would like to do adjunct work to help us with this. And all the things that are happening in the MAC project and the curriculums and the development of all of the educational resources are very exciting because they fold perfectly into this project, into this career pathway project.
It certainly sounds like it's the skill to focus on for so many different sectors across the state, across the region, across the nation. And I don't, from what you're saying, it doesn't sound like that's going to go away anytime soon, especially according to Anne's statistics there. So, do you expect to have enough employers ready? I know Andrea's not here, but do you expect to have enough employers ready to serve as training agents or to be a part of this project?
Yes, we're still working on building those partnerships. So in addition to the vessels and the maritime, the need for repairs on vessels, we also have the seafood processors that we're trying to build a relationship with and work with them. And also the Port of Grays Harbor has a big project, a big construction project coming up at the marina down there. There's a lot of jobs that are going to be available in specifically in Westport, and they all will require some sort type of welding, aluminum fabrication, construction, pipe, putting pilings in, I mean, there's,
Right.
there's all kinds of
It's endless.
opportunities for that. Yeah, there's a lot. And I think one of our biggest challenges is trying to find enough interested young people in a small community like that would
Mm.
take those jobs. So that's why we're using this project to test drive some of the training that we can put together in the pathway, but expanding it out to the skill center from Twin Harbors Skill Center that is in Aberdeen, Lynn Green and her work there, and then over into South Bend and Raymond in the Pacific County area, because there's commutable roads that they can go to work in Westport. It doesn't all have to come from Westport, but that's where we're starting.
And it sounds like it's been a very well thought out and deliberate process. And it's great that all of this came together. I'm going to tap Anne again. Thank you very much, Kathy and Jacqueline and Sarah. We might come back to you, but I'm gonna direct the question to Anne. I know I'm putting her on the spot, but it's been one of those evenings with tech. So here
Yeah.
goes.
Okay.
So, Anne, if you will, could you please tell us, and I mean, I know the answer to this, but I would like to share that with others. Could you please go back and explain what was the motivation for selecting welding in particular, and especially in rural contexts? I know not, it's easier to get those courses in a high school in a suburban or urban area. There's much more access, but I'm interested in the equity issue around the lack of welding coursework in rural high schools. Can you speak to that really quickly?
I think I can. So one is we recognize welding as a common thread through multiple industry sectors. Two, we immediately knew already that these sectors operate heavily in rural areas. And three, we knew that there were not the access points that there was a lack of access points for students and others in rural communities. So we wanted to level the playing field by breaking down some of those barriers and providing stronger pathways to these careers. So we knew students weren't getting, and it's not a knock on any program, it's just the circumstance that we're in. So that's not meant to be a pejorative at all, but we just knew there weren't enough access points, there wasn't enough awareness, and we wanted to address that because we knew that this is welding is an expanding field. It's STEM, as you said, all day long. And we also know that these companies that operate in rural communities want to hire in that rural community and that there's a lot of opportunity. And sometimes, I live in a semi-rural community. Not everybody wants to go to the big city. So how do we bring the program and training to them? So yeah, there's that equity piece to it for sure.
Mhm.
Did I answer the
You
question?
did, you
Okay,
did, and
good.
I'm reminded of the curriculum itself
Hmm.
that was lacking
Yeah.
beyond a certain level, maybe one coursework worth in welding, basic welding, but then nothing left. And then that would cause a lot of students to perhaps pursue something else because they couldn't get access to any additional, preparatory coursework in welding beyond that elementary basic course.
Well, and if I may, just very quickly, you just said it yourself, and I'm going to restate it. Welding, like in maritime and other industries, there's a preconceived notion of what welding is. And we wanted to disabuse people of that. We wanted to break that bubble. As you saw on one of the slides, welding can lead you to all kinds of careers. And we wanted to break that, what can be sometimes a negative stereotype that if you're a welder, it's a dead end position. No, it's just the beginning of a very long and fruitful pathway.
Thanks for sharing that. And I know I kind of just put you on the spot there, but
Oh,
I could feel the passion in all of our speakers today, regarding why it's so important to find those perhaps hidden skill sets that aren't getting enough attention, especially in rural areas where, like you said, no one's fault. It's just there's just a lack of access to those things. And then touching upon those, bringing those to the forefront, and then creating a cross-sector partnership that celebrates and rewards those youth by providing those much needed skills. And then how does that translate into, and then this is for anyone, how does that translate, all those skills translate across economic expansion and prosperity across our whole state? And not just in the three set or four sectors that you represent, but in any other sector as well.
since I'm off mute, I'll go really fast. This represents upward mobility, upward economic mobility. It absolutely does. This program, as I said earlier, MAC is an economic and workforce strategy. I mean, it really is. This contributes to local, regional, and statewide economies. It I mean, to me, that's the bottom line in this project. How are we helping people realize their economic goals?
And if I may just jump in real quick, with our friends from ESD and Equus here on this call with us today, this is not just aimed at high school students, even though this curriculum is a K-12 curriculum. And I appreciated your question, Lori, to Sarah, I think, about somebody that's working in a bakery or somebody that's doing something, an adult who's like, this job is not feeding my family right now. I got to get some training somewhere. And I think that this is a great opportunity for that. And that upward mobility that Anne was just talking about. So I want to bring it back to that as well because of the nature of our sorry, there's a gecko running by, I apologize. So So it's working with adults and re-engaging adults in this training with like night welding classes. Our welding program is very full. Those of you that may be aware that it's hard to get into, but with night welding classes, you're able to give adults who want to upskill into a job that's a more family supporting job. This is a perfect way to do that.
Yes, and I'm also reminded of those coming out of the military. It's a great basic skill to start with. Um, and again, even though maybe starting salary is a little on the lower end, you can quickly move up the ladder depending upon how you want to diversify your skills. So I agree with you. I think it's an amazing skill to have. And I'm so glad that we all decided to go forward on this as a partnership and expand it across the state. So I see that it looked like we have Heather here, and I don't mean to put Heather on the spot. Heather is at PEI, Pacific Education Institute, and which is our new Career Connect Washington sector lead in agriculture. Just wondering, and you don't have to answer this, Heather, if you don't want to, but I'm just wondering, as our guest, what your thoughts are on this. Can you possibly think of any additional type sectors or skills, I'm sorry, that might that you can think of that might be, are newly emerging that might cut across sectors?
I do. I have two funny questions. Did you say a gecko ran by you, Kathy? Or something else? Are they loud when they go by?
No, they just go skittering past and they just kind of
Oh,
come, like and it startled me. That was my
oh
sorry.
my gosh. That's so funny. And I was also wondering where Anne is at physically. Are you traveling at a conference?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Oh,
right
oh
this week.
wow.
I
And
am,
Kathy
yes.
is in Hawaii.
Where the
Oh,
geckos.
okay, that makes
Yeah.
more sense. Thank you. I can't think straight until I had those
No
questions answered.
worries. It's okay. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I did think of a few different things. Of course, just a lot of intersections and overlaps talking about how this relates to ag mechanics and forestry, and it relates to fruit processing or seafood. You mentioned working with shellfish processors. Yeah, I think it's hard to figure out which are the best overlaps. That's a bit of where I am. Um,
well, and that's the
and
beauty of it is that
yeah,
they're probably endless if you really dig
yeah.
into it. Um, Sarah, did you want to say something? I know you.
Well, only that I wanted to kind of piggyback off of Kathy's comment about adult training. One of the other things that really needs to be said about welding, which is unique among many trades, is that when you are a certified welder, that is non-negotiable. So sometimes with some of the other trades, you say, "Oh, well, I'm a master carpenter," and someone can say to you, "What does that mean? What does it mean to be a master carpenter?" But if you walk in and you have your WABO, WABO, however you want to call it, or your American Welding Society certified welder card in your pocket, that's not the negotiation ends right there. You are a certified welder recognized by a third party that travels. If you're WABO certified, Washington Association of Building Officials, that's recognized throughout the entire state of Washington, most of Oregon, Idaho, and parts of Alaska. So you have been tested, you have been vetted, you have been verified. So when you apply to a job, it's not up to interpretation what your skill set is. Therefore, it's not up to interpretation what your pay is. And that's something that oftentimes is very rare, especially for a lot of work that we tend to code as for women. And that's one of the things that has always driven me crazy, that we don't see more women coming into the welding industry, because it's been coded as male. Oh, it's heavy, it's dirty, it's this, is that. We started this conversation that there is a type of welding for every type of personality and every type of person. And so if you don't want to be out lugging the 25-pound suitcases and the 50 pounds of wire and the 50, that's fine. We get you in a gas tungsten arc welding. You can do that in a t-shirt. So, but when you have that certification in your back pocket, that makes the employment process that much cleaner and easier, because you have been vetted and certified by a third party, which is a unique situation in an awful lot of careers.
Super. It makes for a much more competitive candidate.
Yeah, and again, Washington State stands alone in having individual certifications. That WABO or WABO, body is unique. Nowhere else in the country are you yourself the one who carries, the welder carries their certification. So you can transfer between industries, between employers, and that certification is yours and goes with you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're really lucky.
I mean, talk about a ringing endorsement uh, for someone, if just starting out, and they can't take that away from you, right?
No,
I mean, once you
no,
have that, you can always be a welder at the very,
absolutely.
very basic level.
Yep. Yep. And you can always come back to it. It's just
True.
like riding a bike. You leave it for a while, go do something else, you get a little bit rusty, but it'll come back, because again, it's that muscle memory that you have built into your body.
Mhm. And I think having the experience of working with the Mac project has helped me, because it has created this sense of what other skill sets are out there that are hidden perhaps underneath something, that no one would really think about, but that we all need for industry and economic growth. And how do we discover those? How do we work to discover what those skill sets are, especially in our rural communities, and work together as a group, like what we're doing, to bring those to the forefront and provide those opportunities for young people to become skilled in those skill sets and become much more employable and not have to move to King County and sorry, King County, not have to move there in order to get a good paying career that's high wage and in demand.
Yeah,
Share.
yeah, I just want to chime in to say every time we do strategic planning and we gather community input, this has been like the theme since 2013, which is we love living in this area. We want to raise our children here, and we would love for our kids to stay with family wage jobs. That has been a theme since 2013. Really important.
In June, we hosted a meeting with Kathy and Lori. You were a presenter there at Grays Harbor College, looking at pathways to ag and natural resource careers. One of the conversations we've been having around that was also around the CRRC, or the Coastal Resilience Regional Challenge, which was some funding coming through Career Connect. And I just wanted to share with this group, I just got an announcement that PEI is going to be managing that process. So it is a continuation of that conversation, right? So I wanted to let this group know because it's so relevant. There would need to be a relationship with coastal resilience. I think all of this could tie into coastal resilience, right? So, you are our friends, and of course we would have a process, which we haven't even begun yet, but we've been working on a lot of this conceptually for many years. So I wanted to offer the opportunity to participate in that when it becomes more clear.
Oh, that's great news. Thanks for sharing that, Heather. I remember that convening, and it was pretty exciting to be there. So I'm glad
Yeah,
that
and I have
you're
to
leading it.
say, Lori and Ann and I have all been part of this process with Career Connect, which has had some fits and spurts, and it was so busy. I felt like we didn't quite ever follow up from that meeting, but we can do that through this process to continue the good work. And awesome people went to that meeting, just thinking about all the pathways, all the connections between K-12 industry and higher ed.
And especially during these financially difficult times, and I always think about the youth. What can we do to help youth navigate through these times? I mean, there's going to be good times and there's going to be not so good times, but if you have those skill sets, you are already, not that you're guaranteed a job, but you have a way better chance of being able to support yourself and a family, even in the lean times. And so I think what the MAC project has done is serve as kind of a template and a role model for these types of collaborations where we cut across many different sectors, whatever they happen to be, and work together to bring up those skill sets so that we have that ability to offer those things to our students and our young people, as well as adults who are learning new skill sets and upskilling. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up to anybody else in the audience, or if any of our panelists would like to add anything. I know some of you have some real soapboxes that you want to say, so I'm going to put myself on mute.
So Lori, can I jump in really quick and just say, we've got a skills gap in our communities and our rural communities. This is a great way where there's collaboration coming together to address this and do it supportively for the next generation of workers. And I am so grateful that Sierra Pacific was asked to be a part of this. And it's brilliant to bring industry into it so that we know how to connect with these students and how educators can learn to connect with industry. So it's all around is a great project.
And it also, I'll chime in and say this is one of the three foci for Timberland Regional Library for our current strategic plan, which we call a strategic direction. And so one of them is a focus on youth. And we've always had a strong focus also on obviously lifelong learning, but also workforce development. That's always been another theme that goes through all the strategic planning processes that we've had over the years. So We are super happy to be a part of this moving forward together, and especially a focus on youth and rural job opportunities. There are so many opportunities. And, Jacqueline, Lori, and myself, we serve on the president of Grays Harbor College, Carly Schiffner, we all serve on the Pack Mountain board. And there's a strong focus on youth. There's a strong focus on rural family wage jobs in this region. There's a new website up and running called Opportunity Begins Here, identifying the 6 sectors in this region where there are many family wage jobs and the training opportunities and the employers to step up. And so it's just it's a good time in this region to be talking about these jobs in the different sectors. It's a really good time. It seems from my perspective that it's really all coming together. So who else would like to jump in right now?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ann.
I was just gonna, thanks, Kathy. And you were the person I was gonna talk about. The part of the Mac Welding project, and Kathy said it very well earlier, is obviously there's the K-12 part, and there's the community and technical college part. We want to have this program flex so that it's really meeting rural communities where they are. Part of that is the dual credit piece with articulations, but another part of that is working with our partners like Grays Harbor College on non-credit learning. Maybe it's upskilling, reskilling, maybe getting a certification. So what we want to do is view MAC as a menu of options for people who are either in welding as an occupation, want to get into welding as an occupation, or need to upskill or reskill to further themselves. So again, while a lot of the conversation's been on K-12, because we saw that as a critical starting point, we have a very robust pathway for training options planned for this project. Now I'll be quiet, Kathy.
Oh, no. Well, I just wanted to add that Grays Harbor College and the Greater Grays Harbor Inc. and the Pack Mountain Economic Development Council is together with the Pacific County Economic Development Council were recipients of a planning grant from the EDA a year or so ago or more, the Recompete. And that really is focusing on re-engaging those individuals in our region that are between ages 25 and 54 that are out of the workforce, out of training. I don't want to put out any numbers because I can't remember them at the moment, but there's a lot. We're actually lead the way in the state and as far as that age group goes. And we're right in the point now where we've collected the data and did some interviews, and we're in a planning phase now. So if anybody is interested in joining our happy little band of planners, let me know. We're bringing more people to the table to talk about how we're going to address what we've learned in our investigation. We're working with the county, Grays Harbor County, and the public health director there, Mike McNichol. So just really trying to figure out how we can serve that population of folks in our communities. And it's going to take the non-credit stuff that Ann was talking about. It's going to take some flexibility and availability for training. And I'm really grateful to be able to partner with others, and particularly Ann, in bringing training to Grays Harbor and to our Westport project. We don't have to own it. We can facilitate it. And so that's what we're working towards. There's lots of parts and pieces to fit together in this puzzle, but in the end, it will be a win for the community.
There is a question. I do want to articulate it from a person named Jay. I was wondering, what is the best way to get into a welding program as a homeschool GED student, preferably with a low price? And Ann Avery said that's a great question. If you contact Ann.Avery, Avary, at skagit.edu, she will be happy to help. So we know that, and you know this, we all know this, that we have a lot, hundreds, if not thousands of homeschool students across this 5-county region. That was a great question, Jay, to ask. Thank you.
Okay.
Who else wants to jump in? There's another, Kristen is saying, I see a lot of people come in looking for shorter term trainings to get to work sooner due to life circumstances. 3 months or shorter. Is that an option with welding? Maybe 6 months max.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. As a former welding instructor, I had folks walking off the street said, listen, I got 3 kids. I don't have time to mess around with this. I'm not here for a degree and I'm not taking an English class. What can you do for me? And I'd say flux core. In 12 weeks time, we can have you certified in flux core, which is a process, a very heavy welding process used in shipyards, used in structural welding. I mean, it means you're going to be outdoors, but in 12 weeks, I guarantee we can get you certified in flux core. Now, if you give me 6 months, we can go ahead and round you out with, talk about more nuance. What are you into? What do you like to do? But if you have 3 months and are just like, I need to feed my kids, don't mess around with me. Let's get you in a flux core booth and get you welding.
So Sarah, what would be the general process for that to get into that?
Into flux
Those
core
flux
training?
cores
Yeah,
courses.
any one of the community and technical colleges offers
Okay.
flux core. It's a standard welding process. And the challenge there is finding a community college that will let you come in just do that certification and not go through the full 2-year program or process. And that's where we got to continue this conversation about either non-credit bearing or very short-term certificate programs, because that is not a unique situation. We have a lot of people that I've got 3 months of funding paid for, or 12 weeks of funding for this training. Get me in, get me out, because I've got to pay the bills. And so, and many of the processes like gas tungsten arc welding TIG or shielded metal arc welding stick, those take a little more practice, a little more nuance, but truly, if you want a ticket to ride, it's going to be flux core. FCAW welding is going to get you in a shipyard, structural, a whole host of rail cars. The rail system all needs flux core welders. So all of those are prevalent within this region to get you in and get you employed.
Sarah,
And
I have a
that's a great
question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so if somebody was to do that, how do they know whether they will be able to find a job when they get out of the program if they're making that investment?
So I would say, I would ask them to first come in and let me know what led you to succumb to welding, with the idea that I've got 3 months at X amount of money. I would hope that they had done a little bit of investigation of, okay, I know Vigor shipyards are hiring. I know rail cars or Greenbrier is hiring. They said, I just need a flux core certification. What can you do for me? So generally the students that I worked with who came in that situation, they already had an employer in mind and they knew what they needed, and then we just got them rolling.
Okay.
If someone was to come in and say, I've got 12 weeks of training, that's all the funding I have, that would take a little more research, because they hadn't done any prior, homework on what's available to me. And I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Flux core is, like I said, you're going to be outdoors. And it's heavy welding. So this is not indoor t-shirt welding. This is the down and dirty of it all. I love it. It's one of my favorites. But it would, if you hadn't done a little bit of investigation about what employers are looking for, we might have to have a more nuanced conversation about the right welding certification for you.
Thank you, Sarah. And Jacqueline, you mentioned WorkSource.
Yeah, good question, good call.
Yes. So as mentioned before, Lori, myself and Cheryl, we are on the local workforce board. There are support services out there while you're getting training that people don't even know are available, and they might be able to extend your ability to get longer training and help support, make sure that you're getting the support you need to make your rent, to feed your family. All those wraparound services might not qualify for everything, but they are a great starting place to help you get to your next career path. And the Opportunity Begins Here website is set up to help navigate that in the 5 counties of Mason, Thurston, Pacific, Grace Harbor, and Lewis County, if you're in those counties.
And they've been around now for almost a year, I want to, or a little less than a year, but they've got a website up and we just saw it today. So it's pretty nice website. It's fairly easy to navigate. Opportunity Begins Here.
Yeah.
Has some quirks. If you need some help, just log in and say you need help and they'll help you.
Yes. And did you, I had to step away for a second. Did you talk about the new offices that will be in Lacey And then the new one at Grays Harbor College that just opened, I believe, yesterday. So there's a new WorkSource office at the Grays Harbor College campus. Their WorkSource is also at the Centralia College campus. And then WorkSource is coming to many of our libraries, which you can go to trl.org. And because all the libraries are connection sites in the WorkSource system. So our staff connect or the public to WorkSource services. And so over the past 6 months or so, WorkSource staff are going regularly to the Raymond, Hoquiam, Ocean Park, Ilwaco, Lacey, because they don't have a current place that they did in Tumwater. So Lacey, and they'll be moving out of the Lacey Library into their new quarters in the next few months. And then Tumwater as well. And what they're telling us, they're still trying to hire people in Lewis County WorkSource to be able to go to the libraries there. So we're not quite there yet, but we have in the past have had WorkSource staff go to the Salcombe Library. So they're seeing more of their customers in our libraries than they have been in their offices.
But for anybody watching this, it's statewide. And if you're out of state, go to your one stop.
Thank you for the plug.
Yeah, and Kristen mentioned that the Lacey's WorkSource site is scheduled to open sometime in March.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, I would love to thank all of our speakers and a fabulous presentation as keynote, Kathy and Jacqueline and Sarah, and thank you, Heather, for putting up with my impromptu question. I appreciate all of you for giving up your evening, or some of you it's your night, or some of it's your afternoon to participate in this. I guess it's a webinar, but I really appreciate it. I know Cheryl does too, and we really value. I know we value the fact that you are giving up your time. We value you as partners and collaborators, and I hope that this episode has inspired maybe other sectors to want to work together, collaborate to create those opportunities for skilled help for young people. Cheryl, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Lori. And thank you, Lori, for doing always such a great job moderating the panelists. And thank you to all the panelists today. Lily, thank you to Lily for recording it. She will probably be uploading it later this week on our YouTube channel. She will send it out to everyone involved here so that you can share it with the people you know and the organizations you work with. And we will be putting it out. We will also be sharing it with ESD 113 and Pack Mountain and other community-based organizations as well in the region, and the chambers and the EDCs. And in addition, Timberland Regional Library puts out a newsletter to about a little bit over, I think, 80,000 people in our region. And so this recording will go out in the next one or the one after that. So a lot of potential here, a lot of hope, a lot of excitement. Thank you all for coming today and for lending your expertise in an area that, I mean, Lori knows more and more, but I know so little, and I've learned so much today. So thank you.
And Cheryl, what's up next? What's our next moving forward together?
Right. Our next one is March 31st on a Tuesday at 4:30, and it's going to be a focus on the nursing, the whole nursing pipeline from high school programs that are in effect in our region all the way to university. And so we have a lineup of panelists for that one already. Publicity will go out shortly about that one. So that's March. In April, we're going to do one on hospitality and tourism in this area because we want to talk about that in April so that people can listen to it and then go find jobs in this region because the summer's coming up. May, we are working with the local family education support services, which serves 7 counties. They're working with Timberland Regional Library and with Grays Harbor College on FAFSA and WAFSA completions outside of the school system, outside of the college system in this 5-county region. And so that topic will be FAFSA WAFSA, with bringing in the Washington Student Achievement Council people who are the subject matter experts on FAFSA WAFSA. So they're very excited about that. And I just learned something new today about apprenticeships and FAFSA WAFSA. So I want to get more information about that for that one. And then in June, we're looking at clean energy with Centralia College. And so we haven't even put that one together yet in terms of panelists. So we have typically been doing these twice a year. Lori and I looked at each other late last fall and said, we need to be doing this every month or every other month, because we want to get the word out there. There are so many things happening in this region. We want to get the word out to youth and families that there's a lot of hope and a lot of family wage jobs in this region. So with that, it is 5:56. Does anyone have any final comments?
I just want to thank all of our presenters.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you so
us.
much.
You were
And
awesome.
Thank you for providing this platform to get the information out. Really appreciate it.
And we will send you the YouTube link.
Yes.
Thank you, Lily, for handling all the tech.
Yes. Thank you, Lily. Thank you all, and
Have a wonderful evening. Go back and do what you were supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye.